This is Badu TV. Truth and integrity.
I don't think said the National Democratic Congress NDC you should forsake Badu Kobi and Nigel Gaisie.
Badu TV suni ye mamunyina kwaba enfambra so na meso se won subscribe ya na wo do sa esi subscribe button so bell no ba na woda to o se da be de bibia tompe won sa ebetimi aka uwia na woja comment na fe wo share e de amayera se na de tie ene se Kwaku Annan afaya e de afa asofo beye enan bi a wogidi se omobo a NDC momba power nanso omba power ni wie no NDC voye omani amamu ai Emmanuel Badu Kobi ka ho bi Nigel Gaisie omanyina ka ho ne asofo na imienu bi e ka ho ena wo chese NDC ba power no makotam ai asofo Dankan William abide onim no moye bibia na no abegiram ya de pa na te se omo no munim do fa kese ka etitim na wochirima eni yapa se akakobasa ena afi no so no budget e course expectation na mohwehwe di fia ban no ho asisia no 11 days anoma no betting tax ye twem no ye betie ho so nkoma eye Kwaku Annan ediye
last one omukodi nkomo na nini e say na koy. May I say this? May I say, this is not bad though. However, this move also will not what? Help the president. Neither it would yield any positive results. This is because some of those men of God in them with the president are not what? Good spirited. They are not good spirited. Therefore, Mr. President, I would humbly advise, take your destiny and the nation's destiny, or your destiny and the nation's destiny, into your own hands and ask God for what? Ask for God's direction, and I believe God would answer you and provide a direction. The American nan say what should dwumadie say the ekoya me Kwaku minchi. No, I'm not against that. And I mean ka say ye boni bi susu de nanso metumi so asisu dua say sa de we sa meetings si omoni omampani ko hye dem we emfa mfa so bi emro omampani enti the American say omampani emfa mfa so bi amre ono nti Wankasa John Dramani Mahama, we are a member of Assemblies of God. No, we are Nyankopon and a Wujinaho. So, for Wankasa was shabre, any o menya yedia sha won say, e shabre e ka ho. Na fa ko Nyankopon wanim na bom paye ne bisa se. We Nyankopon wo so no Assemblies of God no all ma direction ana. And I want more akwankyere. I Kwaku believe say yes. Obema John Mahama akwankyere. And that's the truth. And I need to tell Mr. President. Ebium senti so meka se dwumadie emwo mampani no enso kire se enipa na ono omwo edem wo no ye de ebi susu se ye dwen se eye se ye fa ne se wo mu na ya asofo. No, Debbie. Earlier in my introduction, me catch them. Me say no mu na ya asofo. Bebre wo mu ye empateku ensibo enyata hyena kraminim ni twidin hyenas semunim sa abo na friend hyena no ebinim ye sa amoa and then above all ebinim so ye nkyereben nim pemire semunim nkyereben nim pemire en omugudem with the president na sa wo sa nipa wenum na wo sa sunsun bi se hyehyom na no omo hyedem a edi na obetimi aye na wa achieve results yet wo mu na ahyehye ntare so omo ya asofo just as the omo Bible ne kan or say they are behaving like what omo yet to say what they are sheep but they are wearing what sheep clothes but There be mpatekunkwa. Mr. President John Dramani Mahama. They say Beya, please avoid this so-called what? Gathering, you may call it is the gathering of the saints. It's so nice, it's okay. But I'm saying that this gathering cannot, will not, and may not demonstrate. Ni narano is in the name of what? Gathering in the name of the Lord God. I'm sorry, Mr. President. Please. If it would be, and if you would understand and listen, please, let's avoid this. Concentrate on your God at the assemblies of God and continue to do your worship. And allow them no worship. After all, they should allow the president to work, because president only time. The president doesn't have time. He doesn't have the luxury. And he doesn't have time to taxi around. Therefore, enya ba so manya debia mutimua. Mo de mo se nyamin and debia ne ya suma ton sakase bo hiribaba ikikoma gadusa iko brackets nimne, all of those language. The come say I could do upon some absolutely rubbish. Mu 68 years na mudi we na yere. 68 years na mudi. Tell me, what do you have to show? Yet you have so many what? So many synagogue, cathedrals, and many you can think of, including what your former president promised to build for God and country. Where is it? Where is it? And again, with avalanche of all these churches in this nation, and your country is like this, and men and women of this nation do not fear God, they look at God's face and can commit atrocity, monstrosity, atrocity, crime, and daylight looting of the nation's coffers. And they don't even care. They are not even scared. They don't fear God. Do am such show men sikem e bo my chrono eti say no mu wi a wo mai yi sika ni bi e de akoto collection akase e wo Action Chapel. Otabla sorry, Kwanchiankra. Sorry, Daki Ordnance sorry. Anyway, Ajinasari sorry, the big churches. E de akoda onyankopon ase. Unhuza. This is about who we are. Very frightening. Ye ni suro e wo ye mu biom. Nyame suro enim oman mu biom. Debi o. No, nyame suro, including omwankasa asofo ni bebre. Many of them en suro nyame biom. The yani ye kan Bible say the beginning of what? Wisdom is what? What can I say? The beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. Do they fear God? I Kwaku here, I'm scared. A mom pinino. Until I will speak. It can be upon monfa and yamasma, my the day of judgment. For him does not lie in my palm. It lies in my pinino palm. And he will account for it. Enti me wora ise be catch on pinino say onye careful. Now on one kasa on taking the destiny and the destiny of this nation into his own hands and ask God for his direction. There are some of these men of God. Now listen. There are some of these men of God during the campaign period in the 2025 just ended election. Prayed before God. They prayed before God for a president of this nation. Nevertheless, their choice of candidates before God, obviously, was not my candidate John Dramani Mahama. Yeah. Me say, before the elections, some of these men of God, they carried their what? Their frankincense prayer before God for a candidate. But I'm to say to you that their choice of candidates that they asked God to honor was not John Dramani Mahama. Hey, now I'm saying their choice was not John Dramani Mahama. Obviously not. So the question remains, how can such men of God be with you or be seen to be with you in your corridor and offer a prayer. This time for you to what? Succeed. And they couldn't do that from the beginning. Really? Ebrano wono bomb pie wo mukuku emu wono. Womo candidates na no mo bomb pie so be win. They know say according to them, God has spoken to them that this was their obvious choice. Into omo bomb pie no win na enya wa. And no mo nya ba be shed them was say hey, ye be boa em why then wedding kunim. Now in the beginning omo bomb pie am wedding kunim. But today they are with you there. And are you not scared? Say me Kwaku, I'll be scared because why? We are all going for glory. And I will bomb pie and one move because Nyami and Yankopon you watch it. It's a baby is saying and Nenwa or Yankopon not dumbi. Assume suma me lead your mind. Now what base? When you make a bomb pie and no mammy must succeed. Now what person is succeed? Open year dear. From the beginning and now for now. I beg to differ. Tonight, I am going to mention 4 men of God in that group. Listen, I am going to mention 4 men of God in that group. 2, I will say, Mr. President Mahama, embrace them. And the other 2, I would expose them and tell Mr. President, beware. Ofa. One fanzwa me enyama semwa. Me de makama semu iwi. Me de Ghana haya wono Kwaku mi nyobi asa. Between me and me one say I'm a member of the 4th estate of the realm and the gatekeeper. That's where I exercise my power. Obi any to me bia wo memu ha. Ye na ye constitution asia. But be bien one so meka with estimated time it will not come to pass. And I've always said this and maintained the vindication of crime is in the womb of time. Now they jaw more they knew what them. Those times that I may expose. Of course, there's a part 2 of expose ever. But first one a year, nipa see and TB they come and see women ye did this and I'm so funny be confess you obinim to what ye did. And so ne bebre na mo kwotena obinim aso dem odne nan edwedwentifo abodanfo wo kwotena ho wo nie dwuma bi die o se ya boy brani na ye ho se onyankopon ni ye nini yo so onyankopon ni ye nwie yo minima dia ha yo enti the religion called Christianity some edede nipa mu ama nipa ye no ho hwiara enye yie. And of course we are making some of these men of God so rich, fabulously rich, like the likes of the Obinim. Into our mind, so ordinary nine best stamp uyam, etieti uyam nyami ampata, ufri nasi hono ana ukwa kunya de liver cirrhosis. All right, one no your sofono or stamp stomach for you to develop what you call liver cirrhosis. Kwana kwa check say yare benya, but down for griventi madwini nya adwuma, especially some of the women. All right, ukasem Thomasum. Because Jesus Christ is so saneba. But bebre ayesu any a buying any susum born any be ye who met ye moi yem pa de pan and one air fighting him back. Telling you. Monje global south or unko head ye koso. Punto koso keke now so munim yankopon kwa wokan. Tonight, Mr. President. First, it's imperative to state categorically that Mr. President John Dramani Mahama should embrace the following persons. Number 1, Prophet Nigel Gaisie. Prophet Nigel Gaisie, the founder and the leader of Prophetic Hill Chapel. Mr. President, consider him. The next person, Prophet Emmanuel Badu Kobi, founder of Glorious Wave Chapel International. Oh yes, Mr. President, these are people I can tell you, embrace them. I don't care how Ghanaians take it. In fact, and the reasons are very simple. In the beginning, somewhere January, in Kobi Paye, within the circles of our Sofonibia, I came here and I said, why? Why can't you stop this agrobisa? Why? And the way see we are beji we num nyam and the way see we na sha we no sha see first and the way no yes say them say what's the meaning of that? How? And then we die quiet them say my idea Now remain silent, remain steadfast. And may I state strongly before, before, then, and now. These two men of God stood in their church, in the auditorium, in the Ghanaian media space, and pledged their support for John Dramani Mahama. Now the rest, no more him. Bibisa. Anya bibia, umpe Nigel Gaisie asem. Anya bibia umpe Badu Kobi asem. But listen to me. Near Wahau. Before the 8 years of Akufo-Addo's government, before the NPP will come to power, before then John Mahama would inherit Atamels, may say these people were, and they were supporting John. Take away their spiritual aspect of life. They came openly in their church auditorium and pledged their support for John Dramani Mahama. Ne enyem pa yasemu. Womo pledge womo saw them wono. Again, they came openly in the Ghanaian space and told Ghana for say, me also for Nigel Gaisie, me say John Mahama na so offer abano and I say ono na me support no. We all heard loud and clear. Yantini kukwem. Afi why Emmanuel Badu Kobi also was heard loud and clear. Na sorry o abonti obedwemo ni na Ghana for yete anayante. This is how Ubehu said. Senipa da senipa wasemwa. Senipa da senya ya crowd so beba boso no wedu echia. Enye kukomu nkomo debi. They hear them se wo pese wo nipa se de nipa suni ne ban esitie eni nipa ye no kwafo a twen ebra obenya asem no na obehu se nipa ni ye. When John Dramani Mahama went into opposition, at least I can bet with my last coin. These two guys did not forsake John Dramani Mahama. Why Prophet Emmanuel Badu Kobi, Prophet why Nigel Gaisie. Oh yes, and these are people who have fought them before. Me no ma kunto kwapen. Hey, Gaisie crowd will be any. Now so near no kwasem ne ye kan ha. Ghana for enhwa de bi ne hu ni se. Asem bi mu ne crowd da ho a ka. De anya ne crowd no ka. Yemma nipa enyina ho. Ne nyankopon enum nyam enne di se ne kura ni nie ana yes. Now we the physical aspect of what about say so mo pe John Mahama asem a afi we bi say hey ene na empire ben ene on bebo de ama John Mahama. Are you there? Woni mi empire omo so ma bo ama John Mahama. Do you know the kinds of prayer a ma bo empire e de ama John Mahama? So if John Mahama ene obe embrace omo na wafrɛ kukuamu no ma bompa yempa enti ntia no kra saying there's nothing wrong with that. I can vouch for these guys. Oh yes, I can vouch for Badu Kobi. I can vouch for why Nigel Gaisie say yes. Omampeni so uni nipa betutu anamo consider because they were there for you from the beginning. They never leave you nor forsake you, and his word is true. As he said in the word, I will never leave you nor forsake you. His word is true. They were there for him. And ya near Dianene Manabing. Enti, I feel that they open anyway free her, anyway free. Now I am to question why one of them, the patriarch, Archbishop Duncan William. How many times we heard Archbishop speaking for Mibisa? How many times Archbishop Duncan William spoke openly? Yet in saying the Benya Tia say Archbishop a bien no so kasa will be no ni namuye no kukwem na yet say na ye say ni huni say ni fro say no man. Look, at the time na ye call Israel for na call war no Yankopon catch Joshua say listen to me here before they will get to the Mount of Gilead. At the end of the year, share one more do monsa, ebebo insuno manom, and one more do mano, ebebo insuno manum. Womumieno. These two descriptions. One will tell you, say, when these are the gallant soldiers of Israel. All right? And ye pa soldier for no ma kontokwa. And ye mo so for na mo beti te kona ho. E ye no enne die. Enne. Eduabana so emana you okay. All of you want to find a place and then what? As a safe haven. No, Mr. President Mahama, be very, 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 very measured in these gatherings. I'm telling you, many of them are sycophants. Women are sycophants. Women are nyatan sebo. Women are highness in Chirebenim Pemre. No mbenyao. Asamoba. The next persons, Mr. President John Mahama, do not underestimate. Nipa John Dramani Mahama should not underestimate. Beware of. First, Bishop Etru appear. Munimno. Monfa na picture mrama Ghana for him. Yeah. Bishop Etru appear. Not to them hobby. Yes. Now, now let's go back. Neyanko check it, Sa Papa way, Bishop way. Near Mr. Say, when he went before God and was praying for God for a candidate and a president for this country. So, it's a simple message to let you know, say, if we, Okobompai when them a carry a frankincense prayer before God for obvious choice for Ghana, John Mahama was not obviously his choice. So say any pay or say Bejina or say or no be bompai say succeed, which we have. Now than 1 year sad na here. Now the only more who won't na. Meantime, the next person, Mr. President John Mahama, do not underestimate. Reverend Michael Bwedi Nyameche, the General Overseer, Emma Makers Chapel. Reverend Michael Bwedi Nyameche, only on Odahon. Mr. President Mahama, be very careful. Na papa we there onono ni nsem bi wo ha ye nya maso na hwewo Reverend Bwedi Nyameche eye nipa se Ghana fo ni ma breaking news mama say in the very near future he wants to lead this country as the president of this republic. Yeah. Bwedi Nyameche on the ticket of which party? Not NDC. I'm sorry. He wants to lead this country as the next president of this country on the ticket of MPP. Maden, on my country, yeah, this man. And all of these men were in the gathering with President John Dramani Mahama, and you think they are praying for you to succeed? Oh, really? Reverend Michael Bwedi Nyameche has been accused by Onwana Sofo. He is involved in a massive occult practices. Which occult practices? Details will be coming soon. We need time and net. He's been accused of a massive occult practices. So terrible and serious occult practices. I don't know, but Ononswa, he's not ready to speak. Occultism. Me, Kwaku, nyemio ono. Ono anasofo. And nyemi na me accuse no me say. Reverend Michael Bwedi Nyameche's man of God on one asofo nkete onu omo and a share so na say the Makers Chapel accused him of occult practices. Details of that is coming. Nyenne ontimi yin ho ano so ba be yin ho ano e was practices no he won't. But when this man of God when we na ni wo man penisha dem a obisa say Womo bompaya mom was succeed and omo bompaya mom mampeni why then? What of them? Now Yembisa said, before the elections, what prayer being and this man of God supposed carried before which frankincense prayer being and Oma Sudiko Nyankopun in his quest to seek for leadership for this country. Mamenya di binimamo. Video where me watch home. At the back of the video was a political party be Kalesu and then but my guys decided to edit the video. And I said, no, put the original video there. But they edited the video. So I am requesting for the original video. I want to make a point. I want to prove something. The original video of this, many people know. When Michael Bwedi Nyameche was talking to the auditorium, the church people, he was talking, and on the grounds of where he was speaking, that grounds was no longer what? A church auditorium. It was a political auditorium. And Yembisa said, political party buying logos, symbols, anything, and a network. MCR, can I have the original video? Now, folks, I mean, Massembi Oma, meaning said a mechanism that binti. The ceremony, I didn't know, yeah, Munyan, according to how I've directed. The video, no, a brand no all this age man, may say party be logo and an wage. Let me be video natural. Now, Obisu Misa Michael Badu Yameche say, and I'm to obey anyone some top hierarchy in the MPP on one more, including the running mates that just ended saying elections we the running mates Emma candidates Baumia no ehwan munim say any pano ne den ya enti DNT and Michael Badu Yameche be say now and Joe or Baba stande se munim a that's the breaking news. He wants to lead this country on the ticket of MPP in the very coming near future.
Oh my.
All right. Simon, we are see you. Now, when President Mahama, you have all these people, I saw them, and you think, say, what move a bomb time was succeeding. Is my video ready? Simon, we are see. Folks, you show original video, no? The Adebani edited version, but at the back of the backdrop, no, a DA political party, a bang and an air war. A dear we are Reverend Michael Badu Yameche Beye. This is a clear endorsement for wine. Alhaji Mahama Dubamia. Ome Kanche Ghana for say no. He was talking business and he was talking scriptures. And Amante. Kase ya nkoma wo gina ho a wo die. Enye nkoma wo preaching nyame asem ana wo bomba. No. This is a clear endorsement for wine. Candidates Alhaji Mahama Dubamia. Also he loves Christians and also the Muslims. And you cannot be hypocrites about whether you love somebody and you cannot into your person or say no say upo bia semwa and say we nya atwemo ho and say utimi ma asem no ede na nipa hu sampa upe nipa na asem. It's of course. But I'm not to say and again let me emphasize this point, and emphasis is mine. If Badu Yameche epe baumiasem ope napo Dr. Matthew Poku Prempa asem no ope MPP asem enye boni o. No. From so be any so and a choice. But my issue is that they are all being hypocrites. And after us with their choices, then you find yourself at what you call the Holy Grail. Where the president said, Mo bompire man, are you sure? We are just empire na mo ba amampini. And I'm to what mo share mo amampini ne feel. When or no, Michael Badu Yameche Nankasa wants to lead this country on a ticket of MPP. And we say, baby, maybe it's a dream in Alice of Wonderland. I don't know. So, meanwhile, when we Mr. President, aren't you scared? Mr. President John Mahama, aren't you scared? I am saying this finally. And I'm saying, the man of God, Oman Penny John Dramani Mahama, ube timi a me timi a stick him in next, unuamu enchiano, and a mabubo mudino, omuno you on picture ban. Nigel Gaisie, obi enim no, Kwaku Gaisie. Badu Kobi obi animu woman face yo no say any pe wenu mu da hia dem na so mo nu tu abasako mu na ne woman no etu abasako mu ama power no wonsa kan. I don't think said the National Democratic Congress NDC you should forsake Badu Kobi and Nigel Gaisie. After all, say spiritually kra no man ye hwimpa hunemu no wo mu ye bibi. At least they were able to urge their church members to go on the direction of the NDC. Ana Mamini video ni nchira na monhwe se asofo emienu a me se omu na ehhehye mi yi omu pictures kira we omu na wodam ho bi o Bishop Petru apia Michael Badu Yameche omu na wodam ho bi eno mo se omu bompa ya ma president uhu Badu Yameche no show no Petru apia nso no gina mu ho we bi se mpaye ben ena mo body ama omampani president. Folks, I'm done with them. But President Mahama person no more course direction. It's with the president. That decision solely lies in the palm of President John Dramani Mahama.
It is good that we are going to have the budget to be ready tomorrow, and naturally, it's going to be juxtaposed with the campaign promises the ruling government, catalogs and communicated to Ghanaians. And keenly amongst them are the doing away with the e-levy, which have always stood the test of time, making sure that it is always retained, the betting tax, the emission tax, and other taxes on the agriculture, machinery, and all that. You know, managing any economy or country deals more with revenue. That is the bedrock. So if you don't manage the revenue aspect, you may be tempted to manage the expenditure anyhow. But one, there'll be budget overruns. Two, there'll be losses. And three, you are likely to incur what liabilities. And the aperture say, it's Casamno, it's kind of about Hono, so went me and so me, not 1 year to 3 years. Ube who said, Afi, making I will go me with 2 minutes, Meko Parliament, Aquacoji, 2 minutes, not at the cabin, at the upper. Now, one thing we must be very clear in our minds is that we all got to know the country was in a dire economic situation. As far as cost of living, just a better banker, a mass school fee, Yanke Kanis and and a Ghana for Jinaso, a true Abama, Yura, Mahama, and Napam for. In Ghana for a Shenimuse, a new more Kikan Wansam, Ubitiso. Now, one thing too in governance, and it said, it drew baby maybe a campaign promise to be. Now, for say, be who use as a strategy. Said the bear on Sabeka to me, no, Nabum, Ukotnas, and we analysis, then you guys see call international relations, geopolitical underpinnings, and San Manuel Minano. Said a bit near point here, Obabonting, at the map public apology. So, when I'm kind dear, but a random, any minianum, any other for any Omama, Miss society we see dear. I think the man can ye. Na ye de bobra ama mining so a bit ni akoni menim. A typical example is the illegal I'm talking about. And also ewo honum. The tosimiensa the debt profile. Now your debt profile here 721 billion Ghana cedis. So the Cocatreno current GDP amenya ntie 1 billion. Na che se ewo nanimu pa. Ena sa debt na say e kana da honum so no. Cumulative. A free 19 could do who are the Prim Sabri. Interior Kufo free so, Ira Mahama free so, Nanada Dankwansu free so. A million soon sounds so, HSS 721 billion. It moves 302 billion and Yesika Chain and Kasankasa. That's the real value. It's the difference of 418 billion Ankasano, which is equivalent to $27 billion. Representing about 65% of our GDP of $76 billion. No, not just a basic assembly. Yes, you can be, but your koji bisiano, both external debt, any domestic debt. No, a juma beni a and for so then abaso. Yasinemu to say, these are issues that amount for a shaming. Your toss me and a taxes are there baso. Killing here what direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax, no, a company tax. Salary tax, withholding taxes, any the kika home, and then direct taxes mainly no a VAT and a excise tax, customs duties, any the kika home. It's a question I see be saying when you say, yeah, custom duties, excise tax, VAT, a indirect tax no, any direct tax no, and for so many dear my and then it's in the eye. Naman food to tax na assembly no moka. Na a hofama, say omutua tax na. Na sabi sempenfo akatu ya num say tax no muntua ye tua den ye bi na me suggest say se ba taxes na o si efe bi tax fairness model tax fairness models ne say ye be pe ye any fine ye mu entutua owo eto aye tua. One key thing the entitlement theory ni tua sa tax na den na minya what benefit the political dividend theory then persona minya. That's very key. Me suggest to say, then departmentalize the taxation system. Into the debate, what we need to do is say, okay, you call Medina Cancun, you call Kanish, you come the friends malata you kwa ha ya the tax no yen CBB na physical. That's the entitlement theory distributive justice system. Enti ya tax na ye chama yen no me no ya basic hospital kuma bi wa hanom yen ya tax fee o hono ya chocho yidin normal market price no se me ko hospital a ye 300 cedis they say me ye participants into no you bet me 100 cedis so the funny who sa entitlement ne pana obenya a eba ne ho no se otua tax na enye ne ya they for sabani jijini nyina we no the kogu consolidated account no mo a eno no akisa parliament assign sign appropriation e ho nyoma ne wani bebre no ne me hwehwe na me ye tax ya na nsana and you say one aspect e sabani hwepa
okay
the toss me enso e multinational so multinational so certain schemes are all use super every amount for one think capitalization transfer pricing income splitting carryover losses dividend payout merger and acquisition na make sure muka krebi menya ntie I'm not a prophet here but menya ntie is likely there's a likelihood say here budget no say omuyi ile benefit there's a likelihood to rationalize the VAT system and the telecommunication sector. It still comes back to electronic platform transactions. Like I'm telling you, last year, August, the total volume of transactions in terms of monetary value was 1.775 trillion. The bad is dollars more, 110 billion, which is higher than our GDP. Enti say multinational no who say okay, me who say there's laxity in the tax system. The tax laws in terms of the Revenue Administration Act, in terms of the Income Tax Act, in terms of the Act, the VAT Act, in terms of even the Minerals and Mining Act, Act 703, for mining side, and sign about petroleum transactions, petroleum production, petroleum exploration and Production Act 919, passed in 2019, or Shekanko, any emumonchimonka, any entrekisi woman, no, they are Joe. It's mostly what they do is that, okay, this is how it is. Enti onuba ye no, disikana odi abani nyina na odisikana kwa kusi baby. No de akwa koto share, and odi akoto treasury bill na akoto fixed deposit. Na onye musika. Nesika na ngaso odi ba na won fanya dwuma no okọ bank. Esan so you go nti no. Na wakwa koti bank loan. Ye Ghana bank.
Eric, hold it there for me.
Portfolio na se Ghana for ho. Yeah. Ubohu se na uwe saade na efi nchen.
Good one.
Na kese onu ehwe ho kwan.
Yeah, hold it.
Na ba sonso odi tiane profit.
God.
Interest na balance no odi tiane profit so. It ubo nse obewie no kra na say interest a watua no na ama profit na ekuna do ahwe na make losses. No aka tira ban. Me ya multinational ma make loss, mean to tax.
Yeah.
Ana edwuma bi a make loss bi anso no untumi to tax. Enti untua tax a untua dividend.
Yeah.
It ubo nse dividend ma taxes ma.
Good one.
Wasan agie interest they take the profit so. Wasan so the nisika na kwa koto bank hwe ho kwan asset kana odi fia blochi buy no. Owie de to so enan kra ni say sai sika na akọ bank akọ na febi capital assets no akoto assets. Plant machines dan sa no manoma no. Na wasan na capital allowance na aban so wasan tua e kama. Ye capital allowance the government is helping you to defray the payment of your fees.
God. Eric, hold it there for me.
Yes,
Eric, hold it there for me. Hold it there. See, to me, interactive now, so balancing. So, let's speak to Richard Anyagba, also with the NPP Director of Communications. Now, Yenje Richard Adrian to say, of course, what is it that the NPP anticipates in the next few hours as the Finance Minister Behete Parliament? You know, send the NPP for also in the scheme of things, you know. Is the NPP, though they are opposition parties, but can we say yes, they wish well, said this is a given the circumstances of the situation, so more corner data a DAOS is CAE, can was 721 DN and on expect to say the budget statement of fiscal year winner say to me roll it out for the welfare of the Ghanaian. Richard.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
And, good evening to your viewers and your listeners.
Yeah.
I think that the budget tomorrow will be an interesting one.
Really?
Because, yes, because the NDC is conflicted. They have talked themselves into a bind. Now, in that bind, they have to act. And they're acting tomorrow. They are pressed to remove these 3 taxes, which I think some estimates I'm seeing brings in excess of 14 or so billion. When they remove those 3 taxes, let's just assume, for purposes of making our analysis, they will create a 14 billion gap in the budget for 2025. The question is that...
What's the Ombe creative gap? Yes,
there'll be a revenue gap. Yeah. If they remove that, those 3 taxes, the e-levy, the betting tax, and I think the COVID tax, if they remove those 3 things, what you're going to have is a revenue gap. Be it 10 billion, 13 billion, or whatever amount it is.
Great. But you and I don't know, sir. You and I don't know, sir, if they've also, made some provisions with regards to other replacement that will be more comfortable for the ordinary Ghanaian, not necessarily to go along with this monstrous taxes way. For example, COVID is gone, yet Ghanaians are being burdened with a COVID tax. Richard?
Yeah, there's no 2 ways about it. The point is that you need money, whether you call it COVID tax, e-levy tax, or you call it a betting tax. You need money. That's all it is. Because the money that goes to a consolidated fund is not named. It trickles from the handles and go in the account. But when it gets into account, it becomes your revenue projection for the year. All right? And so if it's not there, it's not going into the consolidated fund. You have to find a way to get it. And the only way government makes money is through taxes, fees and charges, or grants, or aid, foreign aids. Right? So your options are defined. And so tax be free. Now we free more. Gap never result. But so many do now we are to go now we are job be or another before bedroom job maybe as our banajo or the first one master there. But so many so as majo. And I want to do throw the propaganda. So we got the next mass survival in the bank. Yes, no, I'm a pay you manual and you may them buy our basumi. After that, yes, you see, Messi, Yemi and Shah. Nice, you mano, Sika the Babano. Want to make coffee, baby, maybe I make up home. Oh, yeah, yes, and I do look up for ball light 1 year, and then the young of Parma and I do look up for Bob and on the Ponfi a platform the Sabaka for Bobby Akama. And also see a Juma. What the Oko Castle, yes, a Juma for Bia, and I saw the tax handle for Bia bar. It will be sir. I was with the young tax in age. Say a charging and a and I was saying, yeah, oh, the old baby bear is still tax. A deal of a friendly a tax. 80, obey. I mean, I told my game, obey you near anything, but I think the most feasible thing to do. If you follow the finance minister's conversation, is to cut expenditure. That is the area they can go to, because if the NDC makes any mistake to bring a new tax tomorrow, you can call it Jesus tax, you can call it tithe for the Christians to appreciate, but nobody will be interested to pay, because the image the NDC created, the communication they gave Ghanaians, it is to say that taxes are bad. But we know from where they come, their orientation, their worldview, okay? What and even their history in this Fourth Republic. NDC taxes more than anybody. They have taxed more than anybody, not the MPP. And you know that our worldview is a supply-side driven economics, so which it means that we like to incentivize production. through which we drive the economy, and therefore through the proper channels or productive channels, we are able to increase revenue for the states. That's our disposition. You know, in other words, ordinarily, the MPP is not given to taxation in a manner the NDC would like to do compared to us. But assembly the bar, and you had all those situations. So the option for the NDC is one, to cut expenditure. And the question is, which expenditure, what sector are they going to cut? What are the specific issues or expenditure lines open in the budget for them to cut without consequence or without compromising growth, without compromising or affecting the welfare or the well-being of Ghanaians, and without affecting our drive for infrastructure development? So I said, when the Akopim say, what's over tax? Abruwa baby. Tiwaba say etrana onkoka na okoka so a sa tax be say ye hwe kwan say be free ho na e free ho a the other ba so ana say on ba sha na no it shouldn't be tax So the difficulty they have is that it's going to be an interesting budget, one where I see the NDC has a very limited opening for maneuver, and hopefully they will tell us what they are going to cut. Perhaps they will cut LEAP, perhaps they will cut free SHS, perhaps they will cut school feeding, perhaps they would cut teacher trainee and nursing trainee allowance, perhaps they will cut expenditure on goods and services. But you see, the other side of this possible cut, like I say, you slow the economy, you affect growth. That's what I say, because you would create demand shortages, so that there will be production, or probably there will be the economy will not grow in terms of using government spending to drive growth. Once you cut all of these sectors, you are, in terms of capital injection into the economy, you are going to affect growth one way or the other. And then the most critical one is, if, let's assume these social interventions are the ones they are going to cut. Apart from affecting the well-being of people, the economy will suffer. And number two, I think also that they probably look at capital expenditure. And if they cut that capital expenditure or restrain expenditure on projects and major construction works, what that is going to do again is to affect the growth of the economy and ultimately the development as we would like to have it. So the NDC is faced with a very, very difficult prospect. Which prospect tomorrow they would have to, I don't know what they have on the paper, but they have to surprise all of us to say that somehow they figured it out without introducing new tax, but somehow they have managed to remove those three taxes and have made the budget make sense and show us that they are going to grow the economy. We will have to see which sectors they are going to prioritize and what their allocations would be to drive the growth policies behind those sectors. So it's a difficult budget for them. I think earlier on, my brother who was talked about perhaps coming in to apologize or to say, that they didn't see it well, or somehow come up with some way of explaining to Ghanaians that for some reason they need to introduce a new revenue handle to be able to meet their expenditure. Because definitely the budget must be pro-growth, and it cannot be pro-growth if you don't have the commensurate revenue measures to be able to drive the policies that you are proposing to create the growth that you want.
I see, Richard. We are quite certain, sir, and if you recall, President Mahama said the free SHS education, blah, blah, will not be abandoned. And he said this recently in his State of Nation address. Education, he's not going to touch it. As it were, there has been earlier propaganda with that field suggests that, he's going to cut the free SHS and so forth. But again, the president has stated one more time categorically. So, as you were saying, cut. I don't think will be fair to the president suggesting and also would follow suit tomorrow. Supposedly, those that you are suggesting would all go for cut. Now, when you come to all these, for example, like e-levy, any friend is saying COVID tax. You and I know the history surrounding the e-levy and the history surrounding the COVID tax. Now, let's stay a while longer with the e-levy before the passage of the e-levy and the drama associated with. Again, juxtaposing this with any other levy that would have to mobilize a significant revenue for the consolidated fund. Where we are, do you think e-levy apparently did that same magic with respect to the COVID levy, even though COVID levy is a thing of the past? And now, the NDC will not be justifiable to consider this levies thing of the past and free Ghanaians from, economic bondage. Richard.
My brother, I didn't know. COVID, the money you need to pursue growth is money. It's whether you call it latter day tax or whatever tax you want to call it.
But we must justify. We must justify. Why?
So whichever way it takes, you want money enough to be able to drive your agenda. And, you can call it by any name, but it's still not. You haven't answered the question that there's too much tax and you want to reduce taxes.
Good.
You understand? So that responsibility is on them. Now, whether they would come tomorrow in a sober way to say that, look, we are eating humble pie. We did say we'll abandon these taxes or remove these taxes, but for some reason we can't because we need the revenue. It's a reality check moment for them. If they have the capacity or if they have the presence of mind to go that way, that will be their decision. But I think they cannot convince anybody. The verve with which they campaigned against those three taxes, they can't convince anybody that there is another way. And in fact, as recent as the finance minister's own vetting, emphasizing that those revenue handles will go. They talked themselves into a buy. They won the election. They didn't retract. They still doubled down on that narrative that it would go. And so the moment for it to go is now. And then it's going creates a vacuum. That vacuum must be, you have to have other means of revenue to fill it. So tomorrow they have a tall order tomorrow to be able to convince Ghanaians. And I am rather sure that they will introduce some tax and then proceed to cut some expenditures, which will just leave the economy stagnant because they will not have the needed resources to drive the policies they are proposing. You see all the things they are bringing in terms of agribusiness and then trying to drive growth and create employment create employment for young people. You need investment. You need investment. All these infrastructure things that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama says he will do, and they've started some pushing some projects in Ashanti region and other places. It requires money, so it's your budget that will show. Your expenditure allocation will show where the action would be. And so I'm saying that it's going to be difficult. But anyway, to your point of free SHS, the president's rephrasing or the fact that John Dramani Mahama will not cut is just drama. It's public relations. The point is that free SHS as we know it today, if the committee from O and all of that, if their recommendations to any effect suggest that you cut or you have people, parents pay for boarding and pay for food, That is cancellation of free SHS because it won't be free SHS as we knew it. Okay. It will be free SHS according to John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency. So you are by effect cancel the program you inherited because the program you inherited, people didn't pay for a body. So if you have so much changed it in that direction, you have cancelled it. It's not the same free SHS anymore.
Good.
It is free SHS according to you, but not free SHS according to Akufo-Addo, the way you inherited it. So that's the point I was making. That somehow there are indications that there's going to be some changes. Okay, which change will make it look different than it is. One of your will be any more crewing. And then you program in a channel over Benfica, we say a must be anymore. So what is that? What is that? And you know, effectively, no, you're the same person, but in society,
yeah.
And see, that's what we're saying. So whatever they will do to it, move it one way or the other. So that's the point. You know, during the campaign, what they say, I'm gonna say, yeah, review your cancellation. I say, yeah, review cost cancellation. Of course, it is.
Okay. Richard.
Absolutely, it is. And see, whatever you do to it, which is different from what you inherited, is altering what you have inherited, which is equal to cancellation. So they have a difficult situation to deal with tomorrow. I wish them well, but I just think that but unfortunately for them, you know, nipa ne deliver somebody to me your manual amana yi. Until you say, see, I know it's not evidence they say I didn't almost so man on and para a pop of sharp. But and a car, but quite about someone run up.
I see. So a reality check. Okay. Richard, hold it there for me. Eric, what's other first saying incentives being and experts of more geared toward and I say more figures say we should be able to have all of this floating in the budget statement. Eric.
You didn't check if your brother Penny Akasayi. Now one area I'm share one of the TV stations. And I saw state institutions, some of which had recorded losses. And my understanding I'm getting is that it's likely some of them will be offloaded. I mean, they'll be divested. The advice or the recommendation that I want to give is that one, when it comes to ECG, we must be very, very careful because there are certain installations, certain companies, institutions, and sensitive national assets we have to be very careful. That is why it is rare to hear we are going to touch GBC. It is rare that we are going to touch GMPC. Same applies to ECG. You see, the reason is that, well, once you've been given the power to rule, you've got the power to do things you think it's likely going to, make your governance seem what the people are expecting from you. But when it comes to divesting or selling off howsoever that we give the name to, we have to be worried in such a way that which category of persons are we going to sell the institutions or the organizations to? Are we going to sell to foreigners or locals or both? Because the reason is that we are all in Ghana here, and if it is sold to an external investor, that person has absolute control, whether it's 51% upwards, is majority shareholding. So the person has got control decisions, he has got operational control. It depends upon how the documentations might have gone through. Now, the Nipaneba na auto property now, and I said national installation company, and I said property now. Or make a profit in a year. He is going to repatriate that profit now back to his country. And that alone also does have effect on our foreign exchange, regime in terms of imbalances. Intermediate message say, I'm not in the minds of the government, but then if they are to offload some of the state enterprises, the state-owned enterprises, some of which have made losses. It was on TV about 1, 2, 3, 4 that I captured. Few made profit, but they were negligible. Now, this is what we can do. Ghana for. So, said, like the cocoa sector, like the state-owned enterprise, sure, if you read Section 66 of the Public Financial Management Act, Section 66, Act 921, and Penfordum Sasha 2016 now, or say public institutions can take up loans, including and others. So the others can be individual groups, trade associations, whoever. And what we need to do, they say you perceive a ton national assets there. We may even truncate it. The best thing is in Tompo. Maybe in 2009, 2010, the Obama year, the subprime imbalances may see US, the global financial meltdown.
Yeah.
Also, companies nothing. Also, almost Muska invested in them. Emma, within short time, they were able to stand on their feet. And every year, they turn national assets. So what we need to do is say, a vehicle, a financial vehicle. Nienka say companies na about the turn. Yenta say the trauma is koko. Inti so we Ghana near your trade associations, AGI, Chamber of Commerce, even every industry and sector has got a trade association. Makasa, your wealthy investors, Estafua Mapa, or Munsamuye. And finally, what Ghana for Ankasa, not president, you make Gina TV and me and Kasa say, a random cratch for Ghana for. So that you to know these particular national installations, make companies now a ton, yen ton. Then post a ton crampona. What we need to do is this cannot be more as shareholders. Now, say this particular company now, you can say ECG ton ama Ubrunia. Fasa or dono. One so capture Yes, me a tax revenue, about 77% in the last 2 years, the project here, Yen paint me sono. Foreign exchange, foreign loans are if you are because of taboo and that's so. Yen me because of the risk exposure. Was no any the donor countries, friends saying creditors are ready omokano. In Tian Ghana for Nanka financing. The money is with us.
I see.
Individuals, trade associations, government, OPPR, me and control this is how we are going to manage it. Abang a guarantor over it. Me and financial consultants sponsor, not a fine, Busumi Biabu Akunta, Busumi and Sababu Akunta, Busumi Sababu Akunta. Not Ghana for who say, oh, a new man I yet torn of crown, yet Tama Yanka. You can't cocoa a baby able to. Intimate. I'm not apprehensive. They will say, Kotomako is Cocoa, or the Tetiamount, the electricity now, they will be within 12 hours, and after 24 hours, your friend is saying, maintenance, in Tienso Kanyamount. Good. This is for larger shareholding. Which we can, in younger careful, say, in trying to shore up our revenue generation streams, there, yes, Shemukina said, a sick assembly to Yajina Branano. Yen share akwenya ye befa so a edi abotoye beba Ghana fomu edi abotoye beba oman no ye edi ahye omunsa na international community no e be sign ye nyina na ye ho beto memo ye koye ne say ye yisu ye tumi e woni the political might ne dia dia we be take certain decisions e be do bibiru na on sa kwa kusi form
good
that is the aspect of advisor. Medebema are buying a say on share a honor so we can generate some of the revenues from within. Now, I don't know, Casade, it's Mamino Tijom, now, we thousand Ghana background for now, and yeah, because about 33-34 million. Young person between 18 to 65 years, grand for now. Near 20% grand, 10% booster, or Muiska, see from more electricity company, Chidoma. Young could hear about $5 billion, $2 billion, $10 billion for Bruni was about the ship.
Okay.
Now, it's a dream. Any catastrophe, any can't intimate, and a baby and a country again. Last year, I heard say, audit service. Audit infractions was about 50 billion Ghana cedis. What the bad dollars more? Send me a TV. And no one, Eddie and Gassa, friends and question, Mana, Eddie Scalo. Then soon, Troy and on 2 years now. Yet they are shown some empty young court to train. Now, I coach you. It means that you have to be very responsible. It means a mukram for 30% to buy. It means they are society, everyone will see. If you are buying share other the best practices globally. Now, on just okay. So, you are requiring the NJR. Yes, some management team. Yes, some directors. Yes, restructure. Yes, operational, business process, re-engineering, all those things. Now, yes, test the status quo, say, and you other thing have a plan now. That is how we run. From now, we shouldn't be too political. Say, political, best cyclical.
Okay.
The same thing. I remember 2022. I buy budget is 6.9 billion Ghana cedis. So now a peer NDC for 2 years. They demonize it. I was very sad, honestly, as a Ghanaian. Not a point of partisan, leanings or what relationships. No. You see, hey, oh my baby, Emma, Oko Bosu Krabon, I said, we are going to Kakai. So, you know, it's me for us, 6.9 billion, you company in 70%. And then no excess money for you. On Sabeka, they are tossing me, a year 2025, the young and TS Kwampo say, you know, 13 tax me, other tax me, 2025, you will lose 6.37 billion. 2026, you will lose 7.36 billion. 2027, you will lose 8.4 billion. Compromise, almost 22 billion.
Good. Now,
which is.
Eric, hold it there for me. I think we've lost one of the guests. Have I? Let me go to Richard. Good. Call Richard. Richard, now, as far as the MVP is concerned, if you gauge the space, well, there's a lot, as you said, coming tomorrow with the hope of sending an Mkoye Mirage. But if you are to give the NDC, say, a suggestion, and of course, as a nation, we are looking forward in building our mind. And him, and also as a leading opposition party, Mobile suggests to say the budget should focus at this is in order to also cushion Ghanaians as we are going forward. Not necessarily all gauging looking for the doomsday kind of budget. And him, and one of the sectors are more enviable. Say the budget should tackle tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Kwaku. Unfortunately, I missed my colleague's presentation. That's the line you dropped in. But I think the economy, from where we are, contrary to what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said the last time, I don't know. We criticized him, but I think he said it to be able to win the sympathy of organized labor for them to accept the 10% base pay increase and the
Clause Act for them. Clause Act.
So that was very abysmal increase, but he has to do something. So I don't know. But the key thing is that the president or the budget will have to drive growth. And then Ghana Statistical Service information about the finalized GDP numbers for 2024 has come. Approximately 6% growth. 5.7%.
Correct.
Our debt to GDP ratio has dropped. significantly to 62%, or if you like, 61.8%. So our debt sustainability is looking good. It looks like we're on track to achieve the 55% debt to GDP ratio by 2028. Yeah. So, which means this budget must be pro-growth to maintain the stability, the macro stability that we are enjoying, and then build on it further. So there's a need for some critical allocation to drive growth. But then the challenge, as I'm telling you, is that they won't have the money unless they introduce a tax. So if anything can change between now and tomorrow, they should come up with a reasonable explanation to tell them, yes,
and MPP for Mube taking a light, sir.
Or is it?
Rich.
They have to do something. I mean, at the end of the day, you're relative. What are they? About politics, they campaign while you come.
Yeah.
But Bruce obey is also one.
And also some.
I know they want to make fun to home.
Yeah.
So they have to do the do. I think they'll find a way. But they are sure, based on my sources, that there's likely to be some tax tomorrow.
Okay.
Either by way of re-examining the VAT or doing something tomorrow. They need the revenue. The real sector where we need a growth from. Industry, they need investment there. Agriculture, typically they need investment. Even the services sector, they need investment in those sectors to be able to drive production, which then will drive job creation and then growth as a result. So I would say that they either show up tomorrow and say, look, we looked at it, nothing works, we have to go this way. We're sorry, but we have to go this way. We don't have a choice as a people. It is our country. We have to buy the bullets. We have to make it work. I think the NDC has some rather ingenious ways to go around it. Then we'll all wait and see tomorrow.
Good. Richard, Medawasfam, if you see us enough engage space in a few hours, near how to force message, we'll come back again and then speak on this matter. Richard, many thanks indeed for your time. Great. Do I have Eric on the line? Eric. Great. Now,
yes,
Eric
is here, sir.
Good one.
Yes,
Eric, yes, give me 1 minute and then let's wrap up, sir. From the tax expert angle, looking at all that, what would you wrap up on? And again, looking forward to say, and maybe NDC for Nankasabe and too much of tighten their neck, and then again to speak to Ghanaians in a different language. What will be your statement to this?
I can hardly hear you. Can you rehash it?
What's my name? Me say, dear NDC for Beya, enquire to say they have to use the rope to tighten their neck. On one hand, also to tell Ghana for say direction we see as a tax expert from that perspective. No, what do you think the NDC should be looking forward to in that context?
Okay, with regards to tax, one of the key things in taxation is tax compliance.
And Eric, you have 1 minute or so to do this near wrap here.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So what I will say is that the compliance regime in Ghana must be strengthened.
Good.
And in strengthening the compliance regime, one aspect the government has to look at is what? Tax audit.
Yeah.
I have said it prior to 2024, in lead up to the elections, that if I were the president or the government, we need to conduct total tax audit in all sectors of the economy. Not to demonize or not to persecute people, but to establish the depth of total tax revenue, which is supposed to have what? Gone unnoticed. which supposed to have been collected by the government, but for one reason or the other, it is not in the domain of what government.
Good.
So that after we are done, if it's less than 50 billion, 100 billion, 300 billion, then everybody is going to know that, oh, this is the total tax. If Ghana was able to have collected it, then definitely it should have helped us.
Good.
But if we are not looking at those areas in terms of tax audit compliance, tax avoidance, tax evasion, tax defaults, and those areas, I'm telling you that we will always come and see and say that let's increase the tax net. But it's likely to increase or dovetail into any positivities as regards tax administration in Ghana. So for me, we are looking at the tenets and the content of the budget. Look at how it does have professional underpinning, the practical application, the political undertones. Then we take it from there from tomorrow.
Excellent, Eric. Good one there. Of course, we'll be gauging the space tomorrow, and then I'm sure on Wednesday we'll have you full time, and then we'll deliver as it is. And I'm sure all the angles near no waiting is why explaining now their trend.